Serving it up to you live on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. I'm Bruce Nolan. That, my friends, is Nate Geary. And this is Food for Thought, a show combining two of your three favorite F words. That's right, food, football, and those are the two, because I don't have my mind in the gutter. You have your mind in the gutter. The third one is flan. It is the Peruvian pudding dessert. Flan.
I love
flan is the third F word for this evening. A reminder that every show on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network is brought to you by and presented by Picasso's Pizza. Treat yourself to the most flavorful pizza on game day. Picasso's, we are Buffalo Pizza. Shipping locally and nationwide. Order online at picassospizza.net. Mr. Geary, how you doing?
I am satisfied. Yeah, I just ate a whole bunch of food in front of you. Guys, this is how you know Bruce and I have gotten to this special part of our podcasting relationship is, you know, I had ordered pizza as on DoorDash, and it just kind of took a long time. It was supposed to get here well before the podcast period where I get on a little early. We chit-chat, you know, talk about our week, so on and so forth. And I was like, Bruce, bad news. My food hasn't arrived yet, and I'm worried it's going to come here directly in the middle of this podcast, and I'm not going to have eaten since like noon today. I was super hungry, and wouldn't you know it, got here with 15 minutes to spare, and just me just cleaning wings right on camera, talking to Bruce about, you know, fantasy football and so on and so forth. So, Bruce, I feel like our relationship has really, it's matured to new heights.
We took it to the next level. Definitely.
We did.
100%. Took it to the next level. You know who else took it to the next level? Genesee Brewing Company, our favorite sponsor. This show, Food for Thought, is brought to you by Genesee Brewing Company. Since 1878, Genesee has poured generations of brewing knowledge into each pint, can, and bottle of their beer. They make no sacrifices when it comes to their beer brewing, each with the highest quality ingredients for a consistently great drinking experience. Look for Genesee Beer, Genesee Light, Cream Ale, and their specialty line with beers like Ruby Red Kolsch and Oktoberfest. Genesee Brewery, Rochester, New York. A reminder to hit all of the engagement buttons, like, subscribe, rate, review, all the things that make the wonderful hormones in our brain, all the things that make them light up. Press those buttons. Any super chat that we get here on YouTube this evening that is at or greater than $10, make sure you will get yourself a Genesee Brewery pint glass. Just make sure that you DM at Nate Geary Sports proof of the super chat, and that you are following at Genesee Brewery on Twitter with your address, and he will make sure he gets it to you. Nate, this is a little deep. We're going deep cut with our opening icebreaker this evening, and we're going to talk about unadvised, representative first try foods. Now that seems like a lot. That's a mouthful.
Seems like a whole
Allow
lot.
me to explain what I mean by unadvised, representative first try foods. And I swear, I'm going somewhere with this, Your Honor. I am going somewhere with this. If you have a friend in from out of town, and when I say out of town, I mean he's from the moon, and he comes from the moon and he says, Bruce, I would very much like to have pizza. I swear by all that is holy and sacred, if you take this person to a Chicago deep dish joint and you say, this is pizza.
Yep.
I will stab you with a fork. This is not about whether or not Chicago deep dish pizza is good.
It's good. Correct.
It's about whether or not it's representative of the whole. It's about, if you're going to start somewhere with something, you want it to start with an idea and set proper expectations for what the remainder of that type of food or food category is going to be like. When I say unadvised, representative, first try foods, this is what I mean. And why? Why, Bruce, are you bringing this up? Because the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Buffalo Bills' opponent for Sunday, have decided to start rookie Kenny Pickett in his first game on the road against the Bills defense. Wouldn't be what I would do.
Unadvisable.
But it is a storyline coming into the game. Now, you could make an argument that He's going to be better than Trubisky anyway, so does it really matter? But as far as a first start goes, you're drawing a tough assignment.
Yeah.
Even the Buffalo Bills being shorthanded in the secondary, that's a fearsome defensive line. And you're just, getting your feet wet, got some new pieces around you. You're trying to get it right. You're like, okay, this is going to be different. If there was ever a place where Kenny Pickett was most at home, it's in Pittsburgh. That's where he played. One of the hilarious narratives coming through the NFL draft was, well, Kenny Pickett will never be able to play in a place with the weather like Pittsburgh.
With his wee hands, smells
with
of
his
cabbage.
wee little hands. Just tiny wee hands. So, Nate, I'm going to allow you to kick us off. When I say unadvised, representative, first try foods, hit me. What you got?
I'm going niche, brother. Niche, and that is what we do on this show. Bruce, are you a raw guy?
Elaborate on that. Am I a
raw fish,
guy?
Raw beef, raw lamb?
Raw, I do sushi.
Okay.
Right?
Throw sushi out. How adventurous have you gotten? You've ever done carpaccio or tartar?
I've done carpaccio one time. I've never done tartar.
Okay. So I'm going to open the audience to a world of raw beef and raw lamb. And it is unadvisable to try this unless you truly believe and you truly trust the chef. Now, listen, if any restaurant you go to, more than likely if they're serving tartar, it's a higher end restaurant. They're sourcing their beef more locally, and therefore it is going to be fresher and a place that you can trust to get your tartar. However, the first time I had lamb tartar was a very interesting experience for me, Bruce. Now, are you a lamb guy? Do you like lamb chops? Do you like lamb medallion ribs? I mean, those are as good as it. I mean, those are bon appetit, right?
I am in, yeah.
There is, regardless of how fresh, there is a gaminess to lamb versus beef. It just has that exotic tang, as Charlie Kelly would say, right? I was utterly surprised, Bruce, at the lack of gaminess this lamb tartar had. Now, you're not familiar, not local. There's a place out in Eden called Stillwater Farms. They do a Sunday dinner where they invite a chef to come cook in their beautiful farm using their livestock right there, butchered and then cooked on an open fire. Bruce, it is unbelievable. And last year, a chef that I trust very much, someone I know that has worked with raw beef and raw lamb before, Bruce, they literally butchered that lamb less than 24 hours before I ate it. There was zero gaminess whatsoever. It was one of the tastiest dishes I have ever had. It took a level of trust that I have never really afforded someone else before. Now, because of that trust, I was willing to try a beef tartare that I really, really liked. But it was that first leap of faith. It was having it from someone that I truly trusted, that I know has worked with raw, beef or lamb before. But more importantly, I literally was hanging out with the other lamb friends that, I just was consumed their buddy or maybe their cousin. But knowing where it was sourced and seeing the environment that they're kept and how well taken care of they were, and knowing that all of the other food was cooked on an open fire for like 45, 50 people. It was an unbelievable experience, but it was the tartare that I still remember to this day. And had I not been feeling so trustworthy of Zena, who is the chef at Casa Azul, I probably would not have tried it. In fact, I'm confident I never would have tried tartare. Therefore, I would have tried something that I actually really enjoy now as my palate matures a bit. But I would not advise trying it on a one-off, going to your favorite restaurant. Ooh, tartare's on the menu. Gonna try it tonight. Pump the brakes a little there, guy. Just make sure you really trust the environment, you trust the place, you trust the chef, and you trust the source of that beef or lamb.
Not
tartare.
For rookies. Not for
tartare,
rookies.
Not for rookies. You got to really love red meat. Like, you got to really be a red meat, like, lifer. And I know that's not a thing that is necessarily shared. Some people really love red meat. Some people hate it and don't like it at all. Some people don't like it because of its adverse health effects on cholesterol and your heart. I love it, and I love it cooked. I love it raw. But I'm telling you, Bruce, that the lamb tartare changed my bleeping life. It was that memorable of a meal. And again, there's looking at it, knowing everything that I know about it, texture. You know me, man, big texture guy. Everything about it was great. Like the texture, and it was very acidy because, whenever you're working with raw, it's essentially the idea of ceviche, right? Where with the ceviche, with the raw fish, you're blasting it with a lot of acids that are essentially cooking the enzymes or cooking the actual fish. It's not cooking the beef in that same way that the acid bath or the acid wash would do for the ceviche, but it's kind of the same idea, very acidic. And then they put some like fresh herbs in there that really, and anytime you have lamb, like that herb and cranberry kind of combination that really go well with lamb. I would advise anyone who's considered it to just wait, go to Oliver's here in the city, go to the Little Club on Hurdle. I'm trying to think of another place that I would be. I don't think Casa Azul does tartare, but I know I felt very comfortable with her making it for me. But yeah, Oliver's is kind of the place where I would go. If you're going to try it, it's advisable to me to go to a place you're getting really the quality of the quality food in Western New York.
Before we get into mine, let's say hi to people in the comments. JR says food, football, and fat because all flavor comes from the fat. This guy knows. He knows what's up.
Love it. He
knows what's up. Karen says her third F is freaking tasty tater tots. It's a it's a lovely little Chianti. I'm gonna have it with some fava beans.
Fava beans.
I just appreciate anyone who gets that reference. I know it's not
Absolutely.
an incredibly deep cut, but whatever. Rich Rush, go Bills in there. Mr. Diggs says Thursday night, my family said I could go to the game this weekend. They have a new baby. My son and I are going. It's very cool. Any advice on catching tailgating? Nate, you are there more often than I am. Do you have advice for Mr. Diggs on tailgating before we get into mine?
Yeah, if you're not, if you don't have like an RV or anything, I would tell you move away from the bus lot and anything like that, because that's all going to be like kind of private parties and going on. My dad parks behind the KK Food Mart, which is right on the four-way intersection of Southwestern and Abbott Road. And right at the corner, you got O'Neill's, which is very good food. Good luck trying to get there on a game day, though. O'Neill's is on the corner, gas station, Prohibition, which is the new bar, whatever. It's not new. It's been there for a long time, but it's gone through like 15 different owners in the last 10 years. Prohibition. On the other side is KK Food Mart. And behind there is really good parking, easy in, easy out. And I would tell you, go find my dad. I'll make sure he looks out for you, Mr. Diggs, and I'll have him save an Italian beef sandwich for you.
There we go. Axon Jackson 222 says, the NFL Network made a choice today. That choice was to replay Broncos Colts from last night. What level of madness would a person have to be afflicted with to rewatch that game? Okay, Nate, we're gonna have the full fun on the fly right here. Okay, you ready?
Okay.
Here are your choices. Okay. Watch Broncos Colts from last night again. Broadcast angle, everything.
How would I do that?
That's your option. Option one. Option two is eat a food you really don't like. What food is the equivalent? What food that you would have to eat is the equivalent, would be right there on the line.
Like force feeding?
Watching Broncos Colts last night. So if you said, okay, I'm going to give you this list of things, you got to eat this or you got to watch the game again. At what point does that get really close? At what point does that make you think, maybe I take the game instead of eating this food? I got one. I got one for you. I'll go first.
Okay.
I am not an oyster guy. I am not an oyster guy.
Ooh, okay.
It's the texture. It's the texture. I just can't get past the texture of oysters.
As a texture guy, I love clams. Or I love oysters.
You told me right now that my options were have 7 oysters or watch that game again, I'm watching the game. I'm drawing the line. I will turn down sustenance and things that will make my body
Whole.
ingest calories and help. I will turn it down to watch that game again because I don't like oysters. How about you?
Okay. Easy. Filet of fish.
Filet of fish from McDonald's.
Yes. I would watch that game 100 times before I'd get even near a filet of fish, to be quite honest with you. I worked at McDonald's. I told you this, right? I worked on the grill at McDonald's for 3 years. 16, 17, and 18 years old.
And the filet of fish, just never going to do it again.
I never did it, and I never will do it.
You've never done it before?
No, and I never will. Ever do a filet of fish from McDonald's. Now, listen, it's sort of like, once you see the sausage made, it's, craps out of the donkey, whatever the saying you want to go with there. I've seen too much, Bruce. I've seen too much. And more than anything, it's maybe less about the hunk of fish, right? To me, fish is fish, whatever. And I'm not a big fried fish guy as it stands. Fish is fish. I would rather have a couple of bites of just a fish fillet that's been deep fried than watch that game. It's the tartar.
Tartar sauce. Well, you did just say you really like tartar, so I'm just saying.
It's a good point, Bruce. Little double entendre there. I like that. But no, Bruce. First of all, it's kept at room temperature for a while.
That's unfortunate.
Okay, like they are kept in the fridge, but then they take them out. They put it in the little gun, right? And unless you're in rush hour and you're whipping through that, maybe you go through one of those jugs of tartar in 2-3 hours. That means it's sitting out. More than likely, you're carrying over multiple days. Now, what happens is at the end of the day, you wrap it up, put it in the walk-in cooler, and it stays there overnight after you're done serving dinner. And then after breakfast, you pull it back out, it sits out, and it sits there all day. Now, what starts to happen, Bruce, is the end of it, the mayonnaise starts turning that yellow color. Like that yellow color that it's been sitting out and it's drying up a little bit, right? That's the color of the tartar. And your tartar is splurging through the old, nasty, crusty tartar that's at the thing. For those that are watching, like my fingers are the crusty tartar here, and this is the new tartar coming through. It's the worst thing in all of the world. If you wanted, listen, I know we don't get political on this show, but if you wanted to end the war in Ukraine, you would just send Russia all of McDonald's leftover tartar sauce tubes.
Okay.
That war would be over in a minute. So that would create world peace.
Karen draws the line at mushy peas. Liam says pureed Brussels sprouts.
That's a deep cut.
Yes. Super deep cut. Super deep. Andy says, where is this? No, we're talking about McDonald's, Andy. We're talking about McDonald's.
Give me that fillet of fish. Give me that fish.
We're talking about what type of food would you pass up? It's so bad you'd pass it up to watch that game from last night over again. All right. Now, we still haven't gotten to my unadvised.
No, you got to get to it. Got to get to it.
My unadvised representative first try food. If you have a guy who wants to try Chinese food for the first time, get him something Mandarin. Don't get him something Szechuan. That's my argument right there.
Why?
Well, so Szechuan food has a very, very distinct flavor profile.
Mm-hmm.
It's a subcategory almost of what you consider to be traditional Chinese food. It has that numbness when it comes to the spiciness.
Szechuan has that, like, it's not hot. It's numbing. It's like a layer of numbing that you're going to have.
And that's a very niche flavor profile. There is because Sichuan peppercorn is what does that. It's the Sichuan peppercorn that does it. It is a very, very niche flavor profile. And it's not super well representative of the entirety of Chinese food. So if you are having a friend, and we're going to get distracted again because Nate's being distracted. Andy says, I would pass on Icelandic pickled shark.
It's called Hakarl. It's called Hakarl. And my girlfriend's little brother tried some when we were in Iceland, and we went to the local grocery store in Iceland, and we were just looking through the cold counters because big thing we wanted was the Icelandic yogurt. There is nothing like fresh Icelandic yogurt. It is delicious. But the Hakarl. So Bruce, do you know the story of Hakarl? Because I am 100% derailing the show now because of Andy. Have you ever heard of Hakarl?
I've heard of Hakarl. I do not know the story, and I will allow you to tell the story.
Hakarl is fermented shark. It's not pickled, it's fermented. And how they do it, this Icelandic shark is a delicacy only to the Icelandic Sea and only to people of Iceland. The reason is scarce resources. There are a lot of land animals, lamb, but those lamb were mostly brought over from settlers that came from other Nordic regions when they came to Iceland. Yes, I took a couple of tours. Anyways, Hakarl would wash up on the shore, and the early settlers quickly realized that the type of shark that lived off of the shore was poisonous for people to eat. Even if they butchered it and cooked it, it was still, there was poison. It was almost like a natural reaction. And I bet you didn't know this about chicken, is chicken also have this natural defense. If they believe they're about to get killed, their body releases these endorphins and these chemicals throughout their body that taints the meat. The same is kind of said about this special Icelandic shark. The meat itself was poisonous. So what they did is that when they would wash ashore or they'd go out and they'd kill them, they'd bring them to shore and bury them in the sand for months on end. So the sand would suck up the poison out of the meat, leaving this disgusting, terrible smelling Icelandic fermented shark that they would then cut up and smoke in some cases or eat right there. Icelandic Icelandic fermented shark. It's called Hakarl. And my girlfriend's little brother, Alec, tried it. He did not vomit, although watching him did make me want to vomit. Thank you for completely derailing the show, Andy. We appreciate you, buddy.
Okay, now, to be fair, we could have waited until I was done talking about Sichuan food.
No.
But we suffer on this show from something called ADALAB. ADALAB is an acronym. It stands for Attention Defa Oh Look a Butterfly. So
I never heard that one before, Bruce. That's really good.
So anyway, introducing someone to Chinese food through Sichuan food is a bad idea because it's very distinct in the flavor profile. It's not necessarily representative of the remainder of Chinese food. You want to start with a Mandarin dish. You want to start with, General Tso's or chicken and broccoli or beef and broccoli or, mugu gai or something like that. You don't want to start with something Sichuan because there's a chance they either really like it and think that all Chinese food is just like that, or they really don't like it because they think all Chinese food is just like that. So now that I lost all of the momentum associated with that monologue, we are going to move on to if the Bills-Ravens game was a food. If the Bills-Ravens game was a food. We don't have a guest on today's show. There was no Genesee hotline at all. But if we did have a guest, the Genesee hotline would be brought to you by Genesee Brewing Company. Now, it's really important that you know that I didn't get any tropical pineapple Kolsch, but I'm not bitter. Because when I think of a beer brewed for celebration, I think of Genesee Oktoberfest. This deep golden lager is big on malt flavor and perfect to fill your favorite stein. Prost! Genesee Brewing Company. All right, if Bills Ravens was a food, I'm going to go first on this one.
Do it.
Bills Ravens. If it was a food, it's Little Caesars Pizza. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Little Caesars Pizza right now, Nate. My respect for Little Caesars cannot be understated. I cannot tell you the level of admiration I have for Little Caesars Pizza. Little Caesars, not too long ago, obviously I'm old, so it's probably a fairly long time ago, looked around at the pizza landscape and said, we're losing. We need to do something different. We need to do something that nobody else is doing. And Little Caesars reinvented their entire business model around a concept called the hot and ready pizza.
Hot and ready.
Now, this is really important. The two adjectives are hot and ready. The only promises that Little Caesars is making is that it will be hot and it will be ready. And you can get it in cheese and you can get it in pepperoni. And you can walk in the door, and at the time, it's $6.29 now, but it was $5 at the time. You can walk in the door, slap down a 5-spot, and walk out with a large pepperoni pizza. And that was absurd when they did this. And Little Caesars has survived long after other pizza places have fallen because they looked around at their scenario and said, listen, we're going to respect the process. I don't even know if it's going to be good. I'm not saying the pizza is going to be amazing. I'm saying the process will be sound. And that's the little bit of way I felt about the Bills-Ravens game. I did not enjoy watching that game. Very few people did. You felt bad in the first half. You almost felt relieved at the end of it rather than good. But you respect the process. When you look through the process of that game and Sean McDermott's maneuvers, Sean McDermott out-Ravened the Ravens. That's what I said on the Bruce exclusive. The idea that you know that they're going to try and let you go in for the touchdown and you don't take it. You get the first down at the goal line, but you don't get the touchdown, so you can bleed off the time off the clock. You pull the Ravens against the Ravens. If ever there was proof of the influence that analytics is playing in the Buffalo Bills organization, that was a game that did it. And so they never promised you that that was going to be fun, because sometimes the process isn't fun. And sometimes the pizza isn't the best pizza you ever had, but the process will be good. And that's the way I felt about Bills-Ravens. I walked away and I didn't feel great. And you don't walk away from a Little Caesars scenario and go, yeah, I feel amazing.
Yeah, no,
right?
Rarely do you.
That's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean you can't respect. And I have much more respect for Little Caesars as an organization than I do have joy that comes from consuming their food. I like Little Caesars pizza. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. It's not the best pizza I've ever had, but as far as chain pizzas goes, it's perfectly passable. But most importantly, when I'm driving down the road and I can't think of anything and I'm going to go bring something home to the wife, I'm going to see Little Caesars. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to say, hey, can I get a large cheese, a large pep, and some crazy bread? We're going to have 2.5 to 3 meals out of this. And it's going to cost me $17 after tax. Sign me up. It may not always taste good. It may not always taste amazing. It's perfectly passable, but you respect the process. That is how I felt about Bills-Ravens. Nate?
So I'm going to stick with something, you know how a raven is a bird. I'm going to stick with another bird, but a bird of a different flock. In fact, a bird, not at all, Bruce, but a bird in name. If Bills Ravens were a food, it would be duck sauce. Now, hear me out. And you were talking about Mandarin. We were talking about Chinese food, and it sort of sparked. And I this was between two things for me. And your talk about Chinese food, Mandarin versus Szechuan, inspired me to go with this one over the other one I was going to use. So the reason it's duck sauce is anytime you've gone and you've gotten yourself an egg roll, pork, veggie, whatever, right? It's pretty mediocre at best. Not always a lot of flavor. You're getting whatever the taste of whatever frying oil they used on the outside. If it's a veggie one, what is the real flavor profile of it, right? For the first half, this was not a particularly entertaining football game. It was kind of bland. And as soon as Josh Allen takes the team down in that drive before the end of the half, Uncle Mo came a knocking. And it's like somebody came in and said, there's duck sauce at the bottom of the bag. And you're like, duck sauce! And you rip the duck sauce open, you pour it into the plastic area that the 2-pack of your egg rolls came in. You dip it, and this bland, pretty all right, but nothing like close to the highlight of your meal is elevated into something you're like, oh my God, this duck sauce has changed the freaking game. It has taken this bland thing and a touchdown drive before the end of the half and a stop to start the third quarter defensively. And all of a sudden, you've got yourself something that is maybe the highlight of your dish, depending on how crappy of a Chinese place it is, and you don't have a particularly good entree. I've had times where I'm like, I'm looking forward to especially if I know it's a place that has a good egg roll. I usually keep the egg rolls for last. It's kind of the last thing I go to after I've eaten everything else. I like to take my egg roll, dip it in some duck sauce. And so that is why, if Bills Ravens were a food, it would be duck sauce.
Okay. I'm in.
It's niche.
I'm absolutely in on this. By the way, JR says, just so you know, this is exactly why I come here. That's right. This is why you show up on Friday nights. Because listen, when Nate and I were brainstorming this show,
this beautiful disaster we call it.
At no point did we think to ourselves, you know what we're going to do? You know what we're going to do? We're going to have really, really serious conversations about like roster construction, like for 60 minutes, because it's just not, it's a Friday night, man. You had a long week. This show is designed to be on in the background while you're kicking up your feet and you're having your first of probably many beers, right? This weekend. It's designed, it's built for that specific purpose. You're supposed to come, you're supposed to have a few laughs, talk some football, right? Occasionally we have things that we have to talk about that are serious, you know, and sometimes it's not fun to have those conversations, but we want to laugh here. That's what we want to do. Andy says Nate's Hakarl rant was the podcast equivalent of a pick six. Yes, I was in the middle of a rant. And then Nate decides to wave his arms down at the comment section going, Bruce. It's almost like he's standing next to me, like tapping me furiously on the shoulder.
Bruce.
Going, hey, Bruce. Hello.
Hey, Bruce.
There's something about that just reminded me that Bruce was the name of the shark in Finding Nemo.
Yes.
And I really felt like I should just throw that in there at some point to like the Bruce exclusive intro. Go, hello, my name is Bruce.
Fish are friends, not food.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
I think you should do that. It's a good Jim Carrey and Finding Dory, Finding Nemo crossover. It's the crossover no one asked for.
Literally no one.
Everyone needs. They don't know they need it yet, though.
Literally nobody. Nobody asked for it.
No one has asked for it. No.
Moving along. The upcoming Steelers game makes me feel like. All right, Nate, you're going to go first on this one.
Okay.
The upcoming Steelers game makes me feel like
I've been duped, Bruce. Like I've been royally duped. And here's how. 14 points is the spread, even after Jordan Poyer and Dawson Knox were ruled out. 14 points, which would mark the largest point spread in Steelers history that they have found themselves an underdog, right? I feel a lot like my girlfriend tricked me into taking me to a restaurant that I know I didn't, that she knows I don't want to go to. And maybe it's because I've had a bad experience there before. Maybe it's because I know what this team did as a heavy favorite last year in week 1 at home. Pittsburgh came in here and kind of stomped out the Bills. And I know they don't have TJ Watt and I don't have a couple other pieces. And I know Kenny Pickett's starting for the first game, but it just reminds me of feeling like I've been royally duped. I was told we were going to my favorite restaurant and I'm like, where are we going? This isn't the way to pick your restaurant. This looks like we're going a lot towards dun dun, and then you realize very quickly you've been duped and you've been brought to a restaurant that you just don't want to go to, or you've sworn off because of a bad experience prior. And here you are at this restaurant, and hopefully this opportunity for the restaurant to change your mind, they do. Maybe hopefully you have a great meal and you never have to worry about going to this place again. You'll never have to worry about playing the Steelers again after you take care of business. But for right now, they always play close games, Bruce, and it feels like a 14-point spread. It feels like someone's trying to dupe me.
They're trying to get you to bet something.
Yeah. So it just feels like I know that it's Kenny Pickett's first start, and I know no TJ Watt, and they always play close games. Even the games the Bills win, they're close games. Always. Even with Duck freaking Hodges. So spare me the 14-point spread, frankly.
Okay. Spare you the okay. I will spare rib you the 14-point spread.
Spare rib me that 14-point spread.
Anytime we have a chance to make a food pun, we got to do it. So, the upcoming Steelers game makes me feel like I'm ordering my favorite wings at a time when my stomach is already upset. I'm looking forward to the wings. I like the wings. I already know I have a good feeling about these wings. But no matter how much I like these wings, I can't shake this little bit feeling behind me that I might not enjoy what comes after them. And that's the way I feel about Bills Steelers. I too feel very weird about this 14-point thing. And I'm not saying that the Buffalo Bills are going to lose this game. Obviously, if I was a betting man, I would bet on the Bills. I'm not a betting man. The only time I bet is against you, and I always win. So that's about it. But for me, it just gives me an odd feeling seeing a 14-point spread. You know, the last time I remember a spread this significant in a Bills game was Bills-Vikings 2019. 2018. Josh Allen's rookie year. They were favored by a lot, and the Bills came in and beat him, and that was the hurdle game. And it was really weird because the Vikings came out and just really played well early, and the Bills, of course, not so much, right? Not as much, and it didn't go overly well. And it just gives me a weird feeling. Sure, I'm having wings, and I really like the wings, and I feel good about it. And everything about it lines up perfectly for me to get a good meal. But I'm already feeling kind of weird. I don't really like it. I don't like being this much of a favorite.
You're feeling uncomfortable.
I'm feeling uncomfortable.
Same way as me.
So that's the way that I feel. Let's go into the comment section. Andy Anderson says, if Kenny Pickett hurdles Tremaine Edmonds, I'll eat my shoes. I don't think you're going to see a lot of hurdles from Kenny Pickett.
Screenshot that, though, just in case.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, do you have shoes that we can eat? You know, like
edible shoes?
Are there edible shoes that, I don't want Andy to be in trouble. Remember that radio host from Cleveland who said if the Browns picked Baker Mayfield, he would eat horse poop?
Oh, yeah.
And they picked him and he had to eat horse poop?
Yeah, that's regrettable.
Don't commit to that kind of stuff,
That's regrettable. By the way, I have a question for you. You know who Nathan Fielder is, right?
Name does not ring a bell.
You ever seen
he's a Canadian comic.
Yes,
oh, Nathan for You.
Yes.
The show.
Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. I know of it, but I've never watched it.
So you should, because it's like a Dimitri Martin type feel to it, like comedy, like a very extra dry comedy, like as dry as dry gets, which I think might lean you to liking it.
100%. Yes.
You should check out what I just retweeted. He's at the Mets game, and his persona is so on brand, like he's still in character on the Jumbotron, and it's absolutely incredible. If you're talking about, quality podcast content, it's just narrating what's happening on my Twitter timeline.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100% quality. The only thing better is Googling
quality
things.
Which I did both of those things right there in that last segment. If you can't love it, I don't know what to tell you.
Just Googling stuff. That's awesome. All right, moving along. We've got winners and losers from this week in the NFL. Now, this is really important. We were going to try to get to the definition of a blowout. That was going to be something we were going to get to, but we're running out of time. So we'll try and get to that next week.
Why? What happened?
Well, I mean,
was it the Huckcarl? Was it the
something
Huckcarl?
About fermented shark? Yeah, I think probably got us a little. Got us a little bit off the rails. Fair. So we're going to talk about winners and losers this week in the NFL, and we're going to start with winners because I kind of want to finish on a loser note this week.
Okay,
and I'm going to go first.
Okay,
my winner for this week is Mike Boone. Mike Boone. I want to just go ahead and I want to read these to you because you're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. Mike Boone's career statistics are hilarious. They are absolutely hilarious. over the course of his career, he's rushed the ball 85 times for 472 yards. That's 5.6 yards per carry with a long of 59.
And yet he's never really been given any opportunity.
At no point has anybody ever thought, yeah, right, sure, why not? Let's give Mike Boone a shot. He got stuck behind Alexander Mattison and Dalvin Cook in Minnesota. And now here he is in Denver. And again, it takes a significant injury for him to get involved. And he just comes out and everyone was like, oh my gosh, he looks better than Melvin Gordon. He's catching screen passes. His vision is creating and setting up his own blocks. He's running for 5.5 yards a carry. Everyone's like, oh, okay. Now I know Melvin Gordon, everyone likes to hate on Melvin Gordon, especially in Denver because of the fumble issues. But it's a scenario where Mike Boone has a chance to be a 50-50 back for the rest of this year, and he's still 27. So he has a chance to be a 50-50 back for the rest of this year. And then potentially, instead of being a third guy next year, he can go somewhere and be a second guy.
Maybe.
Somewhere else.
I hope it happens.
So I'm excited. And I've always been an unabashed Mike Boone fan. There's tweets for me from the preseason going, Mike Boone is the best RB3 in football. I was very excited. I spent a lot of money to pick him up on the waiver wire because I was so excited. And I think that Melvin Gordon might get outshone by him. And I was really excited. I like to watch him when he was at Cincinnati. I'm a big fan. But my big winner this week is that he was one of the only bright spots in a horrendous game. And that put even more spotlight on him moving forward. So I am going to take Mike Boone as my winner this week. Nate, who you got?
My winner this week is Geno Smith. And he didn't even play yet this week, and he's been proven a winner. But even before then, the highest completion percentage through 4 games in NFL history, 77% completion percent. It's not because he's playing in Justin Fields' offense and throwing 14 times a game. He is legitimately, Bruce, changing the thoughts and minds of people that were clearly made up about him. And I'll tell you, I was one of them. I thought it was a joke that the Seattle Seahawks were starting Geno Smith over Drew Lock, a guy that was, highly touted and has the big arm that you're looking for in the day's NFL, a little bit of mobility. And you're thinking, and I know this is my thought process was, what are you going to learn about Geno Smith that you don't already know? Give Drew Lock an opportunity to prove some people wrong. And it turns out that that's why guys get paid the big bucks to be in the building, to watch what he did in practice every day. He earned the opportunity to be the Seattle Seahawks starter. He's surrounded with the best supporting cast he's ever been surrounded with, bar none. I mean, Jericho Cotchery and who else would have been, that was probably his best weapon. Thomas Jones. I don't know. Who did he have in New York at any point when they were?
Would you like me to get that answer? Because I have that answer for you.
I would like the answer.
Because
Jericho Cotchery.
I'm the dude.
Is this a bit of a trivia? Okay.
How about the next Calvin Johnson, Mr. Stephen Hill?
Oh my God.
How about the ghost of Santonio Holmes?
Santonio Holmes.
Starting running back Bilal Powell. Who would have been?
Well,
next year it was way better though. Next year it was Chris Ivory, Eric Decker,
Percy Harvin, Decker,
Jeremy Curley.
Wow,
much better.
So
the next year.
Now he's got Noah Fant, Will Dissly, which is a nice 1-2 punch at the tight end position. And I don't think they've really quite realized what they can do with Fant quite yet. I think that'll come. But obviously DK and Lockett are as good of a 1-2 punch in the football. And their offensive line, they got this guy in the second or third round, this offensive lineman, and his name's escaping me right now, Lucas, that has solidified their offensive line. And they're getting great returns from Rashad Penny, who is clearly, when healthy, a legitimately good back. And I think Kenneth Walker is waiting in the wings, who I think is going to be a top 5, top 10 runner in the next 2 or 3 years. And they've got 2 first-round picks next year, 2 first-round picks the following year, 4 picks in the top 60 in the next 2 seasons.
Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas are the rookie types.
Yes, and the returns so far have been fantastic on those 2. Good for Geno Smith. I mean, easy to root him on, and I wish nothing. I hope that Geno, he's 31 years old, Bruce. He's not even that old.
No.
Like he's got if he could play this type of football, Seattle could be a dangerous team in the NFC, man. They really, really could.
Absolutely out of left field. Awesome. Awesome story. Losers for this week. Nate, what you got?
Listen, I mean, it's Russell Wilson and America for having to watch that game yesterday. But, Russell Wilson signed a $245 million contract, 161 of which is fully guaranteed. The throws he was making yesterday, I mean, his stats, whether it's QBR, completion percentage, volume, yardage, they mirror Mitch Trubisky, who just was benched in Pittsburgh. So I don't know what to make of this Russell Wilson situation. And I actually wanted to, in speaking about this and talking about him being the biggest loser, short of railing on him, which is what everyone else has done, do you think what Kyle Brandt said this morning on Good Morning Football crossed the line?
Yes.
You do?
I do. Because
why
the only reason you're bringing it up is because he's not playing well. That's the reason.
I think that's right.
So I don't have factually, I don't necessarily disagree with anything. I do think there's plenty of people who have interacted with Russell Wilson have said that they've gotten the feeling that he was not being genuine. My counter argument is that doesn't matter if he's playing really well, that doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
But Kyle Brandt actually did say that though. Like he said, if you are really good, this doesn't matter. Or if you're a really great guy and everyone in your locker room loves you, this doesn't matter. But right now, he's 100% right that both cases, it does not appear like the locker room loves him. Like the whole, Do we
have any reports from Denver that they don't like him? Do we have any incidences they don't like him?
KJ Hamler was
really upset.
Is not acting the way that Kate. Now, if that's Jerry Jeudy, first round pick, if that's Bradley Chubb, if that's Cortland Sutton, that's Garrett Bowles, okay? Veterans, guys on that roster, important pieces, leaders. But when your fourth receiver is doing that, I think what it says to me is like there's not a baseline level. That clapping thing, it was funny. People laughed about it. The deeper issue for me is that is kind of common practice amongst the league, amongst NFL teams, yelling, run, pass. Now, does every team do that in the NFL? No. I mean, few teams still do it. That's more of a thing at the high school and college level. Let's be honest. I mean, it's just a thing about football. It's a weird thing about football. It's a cadence, right? It's just a weird thing that people around the game do. The reactions, the facial expressions you saw from Melvin Gordon, looking at multiple instances, looking at Russell Wilson, like he's hard to take serious. And I think if everyone else is seeing it now, fans are usually the last to the party. Fans, media, we don't know what's happening inside that locker room. A few Denver Broncos wanted to make it known on national television in front of the cameras their displeasure with Russell Wilson. So I think it's been a long time coming. Richard Sherman and KJ Wright said the things they said about Russell on that podcast. It's been I think what Kyle Brandt said came up partially because he's not playing well, but partially because I think something, it was obvious that Brandt was using an experience that he had with Sierra and with Russell Wilson.
He got big timed.
I would say that if anything he said was remotely wrong, I would have said maybe it was over the line, but I mean, just everything. I mean, he does come off very phony, very non-genuine. And when you're that kind of guy and you get paid $161 million, you better have better underlying numbers than Mitch Trubisky, who just was benched after 4 games. So I think it could get very ugly very, very quickly, Bruce, there in Denver. They are not, just like Kyle Brandt said, they are not tied to him in any way. They don't have the history of drafting and developing him and watching him come through the trials and tribulations. They're looking for a damn quarterback. And if he can't be it, they have no way out.
And that's my biggest loser. My biggest loser isn't Russell Wilson. It's the Denver Broncos. And the reason it's the Denver Broncos is because they gave him a contract they can't get out from before they had actually seen him play anything in Broncos colors. So that
Not even a preseason game.
Not even a preseason game. They saw enough in practice, and the new ownership came in, signed off on the contract. Russell Wilson's dead cap is over $100 million.
Insane.
They cannot get out from the Russell Wilson contract. And when you sign a 33-year-old to that level of contract, you got to be sure.
Yeah.
Because if you have Jared Goff on that contract, someone will think, I can fix him. And the Lions appear to have done that.
They have.
When you have Carson Wentz on that contract, you can have someone say, I think I can fix him. And the Colts did. And then the Washington Commanders did. But if you have a 33-year-old Russell Wilson on that contract, number one, it's prohibitive for you to get out. Number two, nobody would take it anyway. Because no one's looking at 33-year-old Russell Wilson going, I can fix that.
Right.
He's 33.
No one wants to
26.
fix a 33-year-old. Yeah.
So for me, my biggest loser is the Denver Broncos. And my biggest loser to the Denver Broncos is because I'm not saying it's toast. I'm not saying Russell Wilson is washed right now. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you can't say, based on what you just talked about, Melvin Gordon and the reactions you're starting to see, like you can't see. I'm not saying that locker room doesn't like him because I mentioned you. I don't think I have any proof beyond a shadow of a doubt they don't. But you can't tell me stuff's not creeping in. Like you can't tell me some buyer's remorse for those players isn't creeping in.
And when you pay a player outside of your organization before you do anything to elevate guys within it, before you make big investments in Justin Simmons, guys in the locker room start to talk. And let's be honest, Nathaniel Hackett is out of his element. He's Donnie, okay? Donnie, you're out of your element, okay? He's Donnie. And tell me you get the reference.
Yes, I get the reference.
Okay, good. The Big Lebowski for those. I'm going to go watch The Big Lebowski after this, by the way, because it's one of the greatest movies ever made.
My wife has never seen The Big Lebowski.
We're gonna watch it tonight. We're gonna workshop this. I'm gonna go on. We're gonna make a Zoom. I'm gonna watch her watch
The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think it was a desperate move from a franchise desperate to find relevant quarterback play. But I'm sorry, I just like if you watched any of those games last year, and I know part of it was because of the finger injury, and that certainly played a big part in all this, but 33 years old and you give him that kind of contract with $161 million guaranteed, you don't even watch him play a game. All you're doing is going off practice. Just you deserve everything. And frankly, I saw the Nathaniel Hackett thing from a mile away. That's as predictable as it gets. He had no head coaching experience. This was not the time to go after a rookie head coach who basically at every turn has gotten the play calling yanked from him. I almost feel, listen, I have never, Bruce, in a sporting event ever seen fans get up and walk and leave the stadium when their team was going into overtime. I have never seen it done. Never.
They were just ready for it to be over, just like the rest of us.
I could not believe it that they were leaving. Even if, like, I've been to some stinkers, Bruce, of Bills games. I have been to the 56-0 game. Was it 56-3, 56-7? The Sunday night game, the first
Patriots
Sunday night game. And I was at that game. I stayed for the whole damn thing. Stayed for the whole thing, Bruce. Whole thing. It was terrible. Like, I stayed for that. These fans in week 4 bailed on their team as they were going to overtime. Bruce, I've never seen it before. Never.
Well, I feel
they
like
just won the Stanley Cup. They're prima donna fans. Sorry.
Okay. Well, you know what? I think it's a good place to end it. That's a really good place to end it.
Calling out Broncos fans. I like that.
Just calling out Broncos fans here. Just choosing violence.
That's what
Nathaniel. Just choosing violence.
By the way,
you know what? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I talked about biggest winner, Geno Smith. You mentioned him. I just wanted to quickly pine for Jared Goff. Unbelievable, man. I mean, the work he
Good for
did
him.
last week, 378 yards, 4 touchdowns with Josh Reynolds as his number one wide receiver. He's got the best offensive line in football. He's supported. They believe in him now. And that does a lot for a quarterback when he knows he has the belief and the structure behind him. And his teammates believe in him. And his head coach and his general manager, they all genuinely believe. And I think, I know they're not winning games right now. They're 1-3. They could easily be 3-1. They should be 3-1. I wish Aaron Glenn would stop blitzing so damn much. I think maybe just chill out a little bit on that.
Just chill. For
but overall, I'm really excited. Jameson Williams is going to be in this lineup, and they're going to have a trio, a quadruple, what is it? Quintuplets, quadrupair.
I don't know what you're going with this.
What's
now.
4 babies? What's 4 babies?
Quadruplets.
Yeah. He's got quadruplets at the pass catching / skilled position. Swift is a great player. Jamal Williams is a great player. Hawkinson's nice. You've got the number one receiver, maybe the most underrated player in all of the NFL, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then you're going to add in Jameson Williams, who is just as electrifying as Devontae Smith. I hope that they build around Goff. I'm not sure they will, but I hope that they do. He's 27, Bruce. He's 27.
If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be Dan Campbell.
They should. He has proved that as long as he is supported, and they're only going to get better at those skill positions, he can win a Super Bowl. He's proven he was, a couple of plays from winning a Super Bowl. Good for Jared Goff. I'm rooting for him. I hope he's the franchise guy there. Sorry, I just wanted to get on my soapbox.
Well, if you don't hope that he's the franchise guy, though, then I'm really sorry, because you just ended this one on a stinker, ended this on a sour note. But I hope you do, because in this household, we stand Jared Goff. As for me and my household, we will stand Jared Goff. And you, right there, listening, watching, all of you who have joined us this evening, you right there, Nate is pointing at the camera. I hope you enjoyed your Friday evening or Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening or Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening or Monday morning or whatever day you happen to be listening to the show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you laughed. I hope you had some fun. And most importantly, I hope you didn't leave